Good morning, students. We're going to continue with the lesson that we started on Friday, which is solving by completing the square. So I'm going to work a few problems here, and then, I'm going to assign some homework to you guys, and you're going to complete it and turn the work in, all right? So our first problem here is 8 squared minus 12h plus 20 is equals to 0. Now, as you can see, this problem is already in the form of where the coefficient of h squared is 1. So our next step would be to move the constant from the left side to the right side. All right. So here, if I do that, I'm going to have 8 squared minus 12h is equals to negative 20. Again, I did that by subtracting 20 on both sides. So now from here, my next step is going to be I'm going to take half of b, which is negative 12. So if I take negative 12 divided by 2, it's going to give me negative 6. All right. So I'm going to take half of b and square it and add it to both sides. So h squared minus 12h, and then we're going to have plus negative 6, which is half of b divided by 2, all square is equals to negative 20 plus negative 6 squared. So I'm adding it to both sides, all right? So from here, I'm going to set it to where I have h minus 6 all squared, because this is a complete square. So h minus 6 all squared is equals to negative 20 plus negative 6 squared is going to give me 36. So it's going to be negative 20 plus 36. So h minus 6 all squared is equals to 16. Now I'm solving for h here, all right? So because I'm solving for h, I got to take the square root of both sides in order to get rid of the square here. So if I take the square root of both sides, all right, I'm left with h minus 6, because the square root cancels the square, is equals to plus or minus. Now this is the perfect square here, so this is going to give me 4. 4 squared is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. So now I'm solving for h. So because I'm solving for h here, I'm going to add 6 on both sides. So if I add 6 on both sides, I now have h is equals to positive 6 plus or minus 4. All right. So now I have two options here. My two options are h is equals to 6 plus 4, or h is equals to 6 minus 4. So 6 plus 4 is equals to 10. All right, that's one answer. Or we have 6 minus 4 is 2, and this is another answer. So my answers are going to be negative 10, it's going to be 10, sorry, or positive 2. All right, so again, like I said, this should be getting easier for you guys. You should be seeing it. So again, from here, guys, as you can see, we have two answers here. Sorry, my answers are 10 or negative 10. So here it just tells you, gives you a breakdown of what we did throughout. All right, so we subtracted 20 on both sides, etc. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at number 2. So for number 2, we have u squared plus 4u minus 68 is equals to negative 8. All right, so this is what we have. So now what I need to do is, because the coefficient of u squared is 1, I need to get my constant on my right side. All right, so that by doing that, I'm going to add 68 to both sides. So when I add 68 to both sides, I have u squared plus 4u is equals to negative 8 plus 68. All right, when I simplify this, I get u squared plus 4u is equals to 60. All right, so now I'm going to take b, which is 4, and I'm going to divide it by 2. So if I take 4 and I divide 4 by 2, I'm going to get 2. So what I'm going to do with this 2 is I'm going to square it and add it to both sides. So I have u squared plus 4u plus 2 squared is equals to 60 plus 2 squared. Again, remember, whatever I do to one side, I'm doing it to the next, right? So I'm squaring it. So now I'm going to write it in the form as u plus 2 all squared, because this is a perfect square here. All right, so we have u plus 2 all squared, and if I follow this, I'm going to get this here. is equals to 2 squared is 4, so 60 plus 4 is 64. All right, so now I'm solving for u. So because I'm solving for u, I'm going to have to take the square root of both sides. All right, so I'm going to take the square root of both sides because the square root cancels the square. So I'm left with u plus 2 is equals to the square root of 64 is plus or minus 8. All right, so now remember, again, I'm solving for what? I'm solving for u, so I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides to get u by itself. So u is equals to negative 2 plus or minus 8. All right, from here, I have two options. Option 1, I either have u is equals to negative 2 plus 8, right? Or option 2, I have u is equals to negative 2 minus 8. Negative 2 plus 8, u is equals to 6. All right. Or I have u is equals to negative 10. That's my second option. So again, as you can see here, these are all the things that I did throughout this problem to get to my answer. So let's look at one more problem, problem number 3. All right, so on problem number 3, we see here that the coefficient of x squared is not it's not 1, right? So we got, first thing that I'm going to do, since I have two constants here, I'm just going to move this constant to this side, right? So this becomes 4x squared plus 16x is equals to 2 plus 46 is 48. Because once it goes across the equal sign, the sign changes from negative to positive. All right. But because the coefficient here is not 1, I'm going to divide each term by negative 4. So I'm going to divide by 4, not negative 4, sorry. By each term by 4. So here, what do I get? I get x squared plus 4x is equals to 12. All right. Now from this point, what I need to do is take half of b, because b is 4. So half of 4 is 2. And I'm going to square this and add it to both sides. So if I square this and add it to both sides, I have x squared plus 4x, all right? And then it's going to be plus 2 squared is equals to 12 plus 2 squared, all right? Whatever I did to one side, I'm doing to the other, all right? So now I'm going to write it in the form of x plus 2 all squared, because this is the perfect square, all right? Plus 2 all squared. If I square this, I'm going to get the same thing here, all right? It's equals to 2 squared is 4, 12 plus 4 is 16. Now I'm solving for x, and the only way for me to get to x, I got to get rid of the square, all right? How do I get rid of a square? By taking the square root, all right? By taking the square root. So when I take the square root, I have x plus 2 is equals to plus or minus, what's the square root of 16? It is 4. Yes, it is, because 16 is a perfect square. So now I'm solving for x, so what do? I subtract 2 on both sides here. So when I subtract 2 on both sides, I'm left with x is equals to negative 2 plus or minus 4. So from here, as you can see from here, we got two options. What are my options? X is equals to negative 2 plus 4, or x is equals to negative 2 minus 4. Negative 2 plus 4, x is equals to positive 2, or x is equals to negative 6. All right, so those are my two options. And again, guys, as you can see here, these are the different things that we're going to do. Again, remember, you can pause the video, copy the notes, and turn it in. All right. All right, now let's go on to part 2.